Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanam Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Stadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Narayanam Gurum Vande Saranyam Bhakta Bandhavam Gauramanu Purnam Radha Dasyam Pradayakam Rupandugacharya Varyambu Rupamanjari Preshtakam Patita Pavana Bandhavam Yugacharya Narayanam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvise Namaha Shama Sundara Shikanda Shekara Ismirahasra Murali Manohara Radhikara Sikamam Kripanide Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Kuru Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vrindaye Tulasi Devyaye Priyaye Keshava Sacha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sattvatyai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, I begin offering my most humble obeisances to the dust of the lotus feet of Paramaradattama Shri Guru Pada Padmo Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Sata Srimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudeva. And to my most worshipable Shikshan Sannyasa Guru Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Sata Srimad Shila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and to all Shirupadu Gauriya Guru Varga, to all Tridandis Sannyasis, Brahmacharis, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, and to all the assembled devotees here today, my most respectful obeisances. So by the causeless mercy of Srila Gurudeva and all Mahabhagavatas Acharyas, we are able to assemble here one more time to continue reading from Sri Ramananda Samvada, still the chapter about Kanta Bhav or Kanta Prema. So, when and why did Shri Krishna become indebted to the gopis? The reply is that when Rasa Lila was going on, the other gopis developed pride in their own good fortune, and the daughter of Vrishabhanu Maharaj, Sri Radha, became sulky. To establish in this world the super excellence of Srimati Radhika's mood of separation, and also in order for Shri Krishna to directly taste and hear the nectar of Sri Radha and the other gopis' talks in separation from him, he disappeared from Rasa Lila. So how many reasons were given here? So first, to establish in this world the glories of Radharani's mood of separation. And also to hear from the gopis how they are speaking about Krishna. Means the Gopi Gita song and other things which were not, put into, text and book form for us, how they were talking. Krishna wanted to hear that. So these are the two reasons why Krishna left the Rasa Lila. Okay. The gopis, absorbed in their moods of separation from Krishna, began inquiring about him from the trees, creepers, tulasi, and the Jamuna, but they received no reply from them. Suddenly they saw Shri Krishna's footprints, and with them the footprints of a young girl. The other gopis began to extol the good fortune of that particular gopi who was alone with Shri Krishna. They began to follow the footprints until they encountered Shri Radha lying upon the ground, unconscious, in separation from Shri Krishna, looking like a golden doll. The other gopis pacified her. After this, all the gopis gathered together on the banks of the river Jamuna and in like-minded groups. And while weeping, they began kirtan. The singing of the gopis is known as the Gopi Git. Upon hearing this song, Shri Krishna could not check himself and came into their presence. It's interesting to notice here that Srila Gurudev, he writes that they gather in like-minded groups. We know that all gopis are not, sympathetic to each other and favorable to each other. Although they were in a common situation in which they have the same pain, they have the same, problem that is separation from Krishna, and that make them unite somehow. It is partially united. And that is why when Srila Gurudev, he comments on Gopi Gita, he gives different meanings and understandings for each verse. It means that the gopis that is still divided into different groups, but somehow or other together, but still divided in like-minded groups. This is an important thing to notice that. So all the gopis took their veils, which were covered with kumkum from their breasts, and laying them upon the ground, they prepared a seat for him, on which he was seated. It means idam asana. The gopis have offered asana to Krishna. The gopis, being situated in Madhura Ras, proceeded to ask Sri Syamasundar a variety of questions, and he cleverly answered all of them. But those questions that were completely overflowing with prema, Shri Krishna could not answer, and he became eternally indebted to the gopis. Means they put him like in a, what to say, I don't know in English this, but when the police bring someone inside one room and start to interrogate, I think, no? And question that person, and put the light on his face like this. So the gopis, they also made Krishna sit there and started asking many things. Why you live, where you were, with whom, many things. They are questioning him. Our most worshipful Goswamis mentioned that not even the elegies composed by Lord Brahma can give him the joy he experienced in becoming indebted to the gopis. At certain opportune instances, Shri Krishna has released himself from his indebtedness to the devotees of all the other rasas. But when he attempted to free himself from his debt to the gopis in Madhura Ras, he became even more indebted. Jadapi Sundharya Krishna Madhuryera Dhurya Brajadevira Sangitar Barai Madhurya. Although Shri Krishna represents the ultimate limit of unparalleled beauty and sweetness, still in the association of the Braja Gopis, his beauty and sweetness increases ad infinitum. Although Shri Krishna's beauty and sweetness, upon reaching their utmost limit, have no opportunity for increasing any further. Whenever the gopis and Krishna see one another, his beauty and sweetness repeatedly increase. That is related to that chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita I mentioned to you last time. That is good to read. It's talking about this, how Krishna's beauty is increasing more and more, even though it has already reached its, utmost limit. This sweetness contains such inconceivable and astonishing power that when the gopis encounter his beauty and sweetness, they become filled with joy. And when Shri Krishna sees their joyful happiness, then he becomes exceedingly pleased. Shri Krishna understands that he is giving happiness to the gopis, and the gopis become joyful because they know that their service is giving him happiness. In this mutual dealing of pleasing one another, there exists an eternal revelry. Revelry means in this way a type of fight, type of challenge. So they are competing with each other, but no one will never face defeat. Then Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-6. Tatra trishi shubhe thabir bhagavam devaki suta made maninam he manam maha marakato jata. In the midst of the dancing gopis, Bhagavan Shri Krishna appears most beautiful, like an exquisite sapphire in the midst of golden ornaments. Now Gurudev is explaining the verse, word by word. Hai Manam, looking like a jewel encrusted in a golden necklace. Maha Marakat, a brilliant blue sapphire. The gopis resemble golden beads, and Shri Krishna, due to his dark bodily effulgence, appears like a blue sapphire. Madhe Maninam Jata, as a blue sapphire appears beautiful when set in a golden necklace, so the sapphire-like Shri Krishna is exquisite when surrounded by the golden ornament like gopis. Tatra tishu shubhe. While Maharas was going on, both Shri Krishna surrounded by the gopis and the gopis surrounded by Shri Krishna appeared extraordinarily beautiful. In fact, Shri Krishna's natural beauty and sweetness were unparalleled. But being in the presence of his special associates, his beauty and sweetness increased. Only amidst the beauty of the gopis does he reveal the summit of his beauty and sweetness. So this is very important to note. Krishna's beauty can only be manifested in its full degree when he is with the gopis. Not alone. Alone, he is not as beautiful as when he is with the gopis. When Shri Krishna went to Dwaraka, he experienced complete absorption in the emotions of Braja and went mad. When Lord Brahma saw him in this condition, he created another Vrindavan named Nava Vrindavan to revive him from his internal state. While he was in Nava Vrindavan, Shri Krishna looked upon the statue of the daughter of Shri Vrishabhanu Maharaj, surrounded by her friends. At that time, his nature as the very charmer of Cupid himself was enhanced even more. When Padma, Kamsa's mother, saw this form, she could not check herself, and in Kantabhava, she ran towards Shri Krishna. Finally, Mother Rohini caught hold of her. Very kind of funny scene to see Padma running towards Krishna and Rohini catching her. Now the word Bhagavan. Bhagavan is defined by this verse of the Vishnu Purana, which says, Ashwarya sassamagrasa viryas jasasasriya jnana vairagyos chaiva sanam bhaga itingana. Shri Bhagavan is the supreme truth, Paramatattva, who is fully endowed with the six inconceivable qualities: complete wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Regarding the incarnations, some are portions of Karandakashai Vishnu, Mahavishnu, the one who is lying on the causal ocean, and others are empowered incarnations. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 4.7, Jada jadahi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijami aham. O Bharat, whenever, it's Bhagavad Gita. I said Bhagavatam, it's Bhagavad Gita 4.7. O Bharat, whenever there is a decline in religious practice and an increase of irreligion, I personally descend. The incarnation of Bhagavan appear in every millennium in order to protect the earth when it is oppressed by the demons. Even Mahavishnu, who is the root of all these incarnations and the origin of the other Purusha avatars, is but a plenary expansion of Brajendra Nandana Shri Krishna. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Itecham sakala pumsa Krishnastu bhagavam swayam indrari vyakkulam lokam mridhayanti yuge yuge. At this point, the question may arise. When the Rasa Lila is saturated with unlimited sweetness, why has the word Bhagavan, which denotes opulence, being used here? Tatra tishu shubhe tabir Bhagavan devaki sutta. It means that the gopis are addressing Krishna as Bhagavan. That's the thing. So the reconciliation comes by understanding that there were many different types of listeners in the assembly of Parikshit Maharaj. There were karmis, jnanis, yogis, tapasvis, devotees of mixed moods, and also pure devotees. In order that those seated at this gathering would not think Shri Krishna to be an ordinary mortal and his pastimes, associates, and holy abode to be anyway mundane, the word Bhagavan has been used. It is only Bhagavan himself who may enact pastimes such as these. There is also another verse during also Rasa Lila, in which Krishna is being addressed as Bhagavam Hari Ishvara. That the gopis, when they see that Krishna is going with some another gopi is being taken with him, then he says, Anayara, then the gopis say, no? Anayaradi todunam Bhagavam Hari Ishvara. Anadirat Yonam Pritoyana Adiraha. It means that gopi, who is very fortunate, she was taken by none other than Bhagavan himself. So they are calling Krishna Bhagavan. So it's like more or less Rasabas. But now Srila Gurudeva is explaining very clear why that was spoken like this. Why Krishna is being addressed as Bhagavan in the middle of the Rasa Lila. So the answer was given now. It's a very interesting thing. So that was to protect the faith of all types of devotees there. So it means that not everyone who was there listening Bhagavatam with Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, they were eligible to understanding everything. As Gurudev is saying, there were many kinds. Jnanis, yogis, tapasis, bhaktas, Shuddha bhaktas, and all types of levels and understandings. So in this way, by putting the word Bhagavan, Shukadeva Goswami is making sure that no one can think that there is some type of promiscuity or any type of deviation from dharmic activities by any normal human being. No, because Krishna, he is Bhagavan himself. So whatever he is doing, this is called Lila. He cannot be put into the frame of the material world, rules of ethics, moral, etc. All right? So here, our worshipful Goswamis have presented the additional Siddhanta that it is not possible for Bhagavan to perform any pastime without the foundation of Aishwarya, opulence. It is never possible for Shri Krishna to divest himself of his opulence in any condition. However, because of excessive sweetness or the profuse overflowing of that madhurya in the pastimes of Braja, the Aishwarya becomes integrated into madhurya. Thus, in order to temper or pacify unqualified persons, opulence is sometimes shown, but then it immediately becomes hidden once more, just as a blade of grass in a large pot of boiling milk may be seen for a moment before again being submerged in the unlimited ocean of sweetness. This is very nice, very beautiful explanation why this is happening like that. So Krishna's sweet pastimes is like ocean. But Aishwarya is also there. The whole Aishwarya of Vaikuntha is just one drop of the Aishwarya of Vrindavan. But the Aishwarya of Vrindavan is one drop in the ocean of Madhurya of Vrindavan. There is so much opulence in Vrindavan, but it is being covered because Madhurya is much more. Next one, Devaki Sutta. It is definitely incorrect to take this word as an indication that Krishna, who is performing the Rasa Lila, is the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. Here, Shri Sukadeva Goswami is actually indicating the son of Jashoda. In his commentary, Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur has also directly explained that another name of Jashoda was Devaki. So evidence of this is found in Brihad Vishnu Puran. Dve namini nanda bharyaya Jashoda deva kiti cha ata sakyam abhut tasya devakya shauri jayaya. The wife of Nanda had two names, Jashoda and also Devaki. Because of their natural friendship, she, the wife of Nanda, and Devaki, the wife of Shauri or Vasudeva, share the same name. You see how things are complicated. How Krishna, he makes everything so difficult for the general people to understand. Because Bhagavatam is very popular, but the purport of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is not. What to speak of Brihad Vishnu Purana? Who can read these books? Apart from our acharyas. General people, they cannot. So if you are not very, very well, if you are not under the guidance of the acharyas in the line of the six Goswamis, then it's very difficult to reconcile and understand many things. Very difficult. Why Yashoda has to have the same name as Devaki? She could have any other name, any other second name. But why that has to be the name of Devaki? Just to make confusion, just to make it more difficult to understand. Anyway, only one Krishna danced with countless millions of gopis. Assuming as many forms as there were gopis, it was also stated that Shri Krishna danced with such velocity that just as the whirling of a burning torch in a complete circle gives the appearance of an unbroken circle of fire, he appeared simultaneously at the side of each of the countless gopis. Interesting to notice that I think we read last time. If it was not last time, it was in another class, but we were explaining how when the queens of Dwaraka, they prepare prasadam for Krishna and invite Krishna to come to their own palace to take prasadam. What Krishna does? He multiplies himself in as many as there are wives and rooms, and then he goes differently to every wife's room, palace, what to say, and then there he takes his meal, and he acts completely differently with each one of them. This is a great opulence of Krishna. But when he's playing Rasa Lila, why he's not doing like so? Why he's spinning very fast? So this is the same Krishna. Because that would be display of too much Aishwarya. Too much. So he has to keep himself in the level of sweetness, because that's the sweetest pastime. So multiplying himself into many, that is big Aishwarya. But keeping himself as one and dancing, it's not much Aishwarya. It's already so much Aishwarya, of course. Who can dance in such a speed that will appear to be in every place, and also making different poses and interacting with every gopi differently? This is, of course, a lot of opulence. But he decided that it should have this limit. So he didn't multiply himself, and he just spin very, very fast. So next verse. Prabhu ko he eis hadyavadi nishchay, kripa kori koho jodi age kichu hoy. Srimana Mahaprabhu replied, this conclusion that Kanta Prema is certainly the highest limit of perfection is incontrovertible. However, Shri Rai, please speak more if there is something else. Rai ko hai harage puche hai na jane, etadina nahi jane achaye bhuvane. Shri Rai Ramananda replied, until this day, I did not know anyone within the three worlds who could inquire beyond this. And this is the end of the chapter of Madhurya Ras. And now we are going to enter in Radha Prem. Shri Radha's love for Krishna. So the end of that chapter is Rai Ramananda becoming very much surprised with Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu is saying, oh, look, Madhurya Rasa is definitely the topmost. It's definitely the highest limit of perfection. But I think there is something else. Could you speak? Then Ramananda is saying, I have never heard anyone asking to go further from this point. But let's go like that. Ihara Madira Dhara Prema Sadhya Shiromani Jahara Mahima Sarva Shastrite Vakhani. Within the Kanta Prema of the Gopis, Shri Radha's Prema for Shri Krishna is the topmost essence of all perfection. And the glories of her love are described in all the revealed scriptures. The proper understanding of Kanta Prema is the Prema of the Gopis of Braja for Shri Krishna. Shri Rai Ramananda became amazed to hear how deeply Mahaprabhu could relate to the astonishing moods that he had just described. It is impossible for sadhakas to attain the prema of Sri Radha, which is the crown jewel of all perfections. However, in the stage of perfection, the jiva becomes qualified for the highest mood of Krishna prema, which is subservient to and follows the loving moods of Srimati Radhika. So Radhika, she's the spine, she's the guide. Without Radhika, there is no Madhurya prema. Impossible. Because she's the what? Personification of Mahabhava. She's the personification of Krishna Swarup Shakti. So all the other gopis coming from her. So without Radha, everything is completely impossible to happen. Therefore, it is said here to be subservient and following the loving moods of Srimati Radha. In the stage of practice or sadhana, the jiva must practice under the guidance of Sri Radhika's female companions or the Sakhis. And this is called Manjari Bhav. Uddhav witnessed these moods of Sri Radha, and we can also observe them in the life and character of Sriman Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu tasted the moods of Sri Radha in both her separation from Sri Krishna and her meeting with him. Jatarada priya Vishnos tasatkundam priyam tata sarvagopishu saivika Vishnoratyanta valava. This is the Padma Purana verse which describes, just as Sri Radha is most dear to Sri Krishna, her lake Radha Kunda is also exceedingly dear to him. Among all the gopis, Sri Radha is Sri Krishna Chandra's most dearly beloved. So this verse compares Radha Kunda and Srimati Radhika, saying that Krishna loves both. But notice another thing. You can note another thing, which is that again in this verse, the word Vishnu is appearing there. In the second line of the verse. Sarva Gopishu Sarveka Vishnor Atyanta Vallava. The most dear to Vishnu becomes Vishnor Atyanta Vallava. Not mentioning Krishna. But in the translation, we have seen Krishna's name to appear twice. One is Krishna, one is Krishna Chandra. Is it there in the verse? No. Again, this mood of opulence is being put to what? Protect the different readers, the conception of the different levels of readers. As in the previous verse, the word Bhagavan was used in relation to Krishna. Here they use the word Vishnu. But we know the only dear Vishnu Tattva to Srimati Radhika can be Krishna. So therefore we are putting in the translation Krishna, not Vishnu. So this is another example of that. Okay. When the treasured daughter of Sri Vrishabhanu Maharaja, Sri Radha, enters into man, and when being unable to break that anger, Sri Krishna is defeated, he goes to Radha Kund because he accepts her lake to be Sri Radha herself. Hoping to gain Srimati Radhika's merciful glance, he performs austerities to fulfill his heart's desire. And finally, Radha Kunda indeed answers his prayer. What is that? Agari purapi yatnadatra devya prasada prasara kritara taksha kataksha praptikama prakamam anusarati yaduche snana sivanu bande tadati surabi radha kundam eva shrayome. Radha Kundashtakam, verse 3. For the pleasure of Srimati Radhika, even Shri Krishna himself, yearning to attain her merciful sidelong glance, performs difficult austerities at the very precious and fragrant Radha Kunda, regularly bathing and carefully observing all the appropriate rituals. May that supremely enchanting Radha Kund be my shelter. And now comes that verse which I have quoted to you, which is calling Krishna as Bhagavan. Anayaraditolnam Bhagavan Harishwara Yona Vihaya Govinda Pritoyanayadiraha. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-28. O Sakis, the gopi whom Krishna has taken away to a secluded place, leaving aside all of us, must have definitely worshipped the Supreme Controller Sri Hari very grandly. So they call him very opulent names. We have Bhagavan, Hari, and Ishwara. This verse has a confidential meaning. The special gopi mentioned here is the crown jewel of all of Shri Krishna's beloveds. Therefore, her name is Radhika. These words were spoken by the Vipaksha gopis, means Srimati Radhika's rivals, like Chandravali, during the Maharasa Lila that took place under the full autumn moon. This verse firmly proves the super excellence of Srimati Radhika's prema. At the time of the Rasa Lila, Shri Krishna performed a vast variety of loving pastimes with the Braja Gopis, which caused them to experience such pleasure that they became proud of their good fortune. Furthermore, Srimati Radhika fell into a jealous pout when she noticed that while Shri Krishna was dancing and singing amorously with her, displaying a variety of poses, he was doing the very same with the other gopis. Thus, to pacify Srimati Radhika's anger and to check the other gopis' false pride in their good fortune, Shri Krishna disappeared from the Rasa Lila, taking Radhika with him. So the thing here is, let me explain one thing. This verse is explaining that Krishna took one gopi along with him, but the name of the gopi is not mentioned there. So how can we come to the conclusion that that was Srimati Radhika? Here Gurudeva, he says, therefore her name was Radhika. The word Radhika comes from Aradhana. So here in the verse, this word Anayaradhitu, Aradhana Radha. The meaning of the word Radhika means the one who is the best worshipper of Krishna. It comes from Aradhana. Aradhana means to worship. Therefore, Anayaradhitu, it is hidden there that this is Radhika who was taken by Krishna. Because as you know, Shukadeva Goswami, he didn't mention that the name of Radhika directly in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He mentioned it hidden. So this is one of the verses which has the name of Radhika hidden. Okay. So as Sri Radha and Krishna were moving from one secluded kunja to another, Sri Radhika's footprints left special marks in the sand. Beneath the big toe and on the right foot was a barley corn. Beneath the second toe was a wheel. Below this was an umbrella, and underneath that was a bangle. Between the big toe and the second toe was a long vertical line reaching down to the middle of her foot. Under the middle toe was a lotus flower, beneath which was a flag. Below this flag was a creeper, which bore one flower. Beneath the mount of the little toe was an elephant goat, and on the heel was a half moon. In the left footprint, there was a conch shell at the base of the big toe, and under this was a club. On the mount of the little toe was an altar, below which there was an earring, and below this a spear. Below the second, third, fourth, and little toes were mountains. Underneath them was a chariot, and on the hill a fish. Similarly, Sri Krishna's footprints also left their characteristic marks in the sand: flag, thunderbolt, elephant goat, lotus, etc. So, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:30-25. Padani Vyaktam Vitani Nanda Shunur Mahatmana Lakshante hi Dvanam Bhoja Vajram Kusha Javadivi. Seeing the footprints, the gopis spoke among themselves. Without a doubt, these footprints belong to the most illustrious son of Nanda Maharaj, Sri Shyam Sundar, because the marks of a flag, lotus, thunderbolt, elephant goat, barley corn, and so forth are clearly seen. But Shri Radhika herself was unaware of her own footprints. Under the cover of a very dense grove of trees, Sri Syamasundar appeased the angry Radha by decorating her and performing other services. By so doing, he managed to pacify her mind, which was extremely strong and difficult to curb. Not being able to see Shri Krishna once he had disappeared from Ras, the other gopis became extremely distressed, as if their lives had left them. They began searching for Shri Krishna everywhere. After some time, they saw his footprints and also noticed that next to them were the footprints of a lady. Seeing them, the rival Vipaksha gopis said to each other, just as a she-elephant accompanies her beloved king of elephants, similarly, that greatly fortunate girl walked away with Nandanandana Shyam Sundar, keeping her hand on his shoulder. Who is she? She must definitely have worshipped the omnipotent Bhagavan Sri Hari very grandly, because her worship has pleased him so much that our beloved Sri Syamasundar has taken her away to a solitary place, leaving all of us behind. The Swapaksha gopis could recognize that these were the footprints of their Sati Sri Radha. And although this fact made them blossom with happiness, they did not manifest any emotions outwardly, because other groups of gopis, Vipaksha, Tatashta, those who are neutral, and Surida, those who are friendly, were also present. Means those who were from the group of Radhika, they understood that was Radha. They didn't say anything, otherwise problem would be there. They would fight and quarrel, it would be a big mess. So they just look at that silently. Like Lalita, Vishaka, they know very well Radharani's footprints. So otherwise, what will happen? Their jealous mood would increase. Therefore, as if ignorant of whom the footprints belong to, the Swapaksha gopis continue following them. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written, Radhika Charana Padma, Shakala Shreyera Sadma, Jatane Je Nahi Aradhila. Radha Padankita Dham, Brindavana Jaranam, Taha Je Nashraya Korila. Radhika Bhava Gambhir, Chitta Jeva Mahadhir, Gana Sangana Koilo Jivane. Kemone se Shamananda Rasa Sindhu Snanananda, Lobibe Bujavo Ekamane. And all the song is here. I'm just going for the translation. For those who never take shelter of Srimati Radhika's abode, Sri Vrindavan, which is beautified by the marks of her lotus feet, which are the abode of all good fortune. For those who never worship Sri Radha's lotus feet, for those who never take the association of Sri Radha's devotees, whose hearts are fixed in her worship and whose moods are very deep and grave, please consider how it will ever be possible for them to obtain the joy of bathing in the ocean of bliss that comes from serving Sri Shama Sundar. Srimati Radhika is the Acharya of amorous love. The pure love between Sri Radha Madhav is meant to be discussed and contemplated. Only those who carefully take full shelter of the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika may very easily attain the priceless jewels of Shri Krishna's lotus feet. Without taking her shelter, it is simply not possible. All of the Vedic scriptures declare that those who, within their hearts, consider themselves to be made servants of Shri Radha can easily attain Shri Krishna. So, okay, we're going to stop here. And then next we will continue with the conversation between Rai Ramananda and Mahaprabhu on this topic of Radha Prem. Hare Krishna.